Hello everyone and welcome back to Coach Craig's Sports. This is the NBA DFS Core Pick video for today, November 10th. If you are joining me for the very first time, first of all, welcome, and second of all, this is how today's video will be structured. Typically, we do a recap of yesterday's picks since there's only 2 games on yesterday's slate. Went through the slate a little bit more in totality, ended up being a pretty good day for myself, so hopefully it was for you guys as well. We're going to get into the injuries in play for tonight's slate. It is a 9-game main slate in total. We're going to get over to DraftKings and FanDuel and talk about my core picks on both sites. It's going to be one player at point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, and center on both sites. But without further ado, we'll get into those injuries in play for tonight's slate. So we're going to start off with the Philadelphia 76ers essentially all the way healthy at this point in time. Nick Batum is listed as probable. And then for the Detroit Pistons, we got the same 6 guys out that have been out all week. So Bogdanovich, Burks, Harris, Ivy, Livers, and Morris all once again. So nothing really new there. For the Charlotte Hornets, pretty much the same thing we saw last game out of them. Bouknight, Bridges, Martin, Ntilikina, and Terry Rozier all out once again. And then we do have Gordon Hayward listed as probable to play, dealing with like a little bit of hamstring soreness, but should be good to go once again. Then on the Wizards side, they are all the way healthy. For the Brooklyn Nets, we got news earlier today that Ben Simmons would be missing. We do have Cam Thomas and Nick Claxton both out once again tonight, but they do get Cam Johnson back tonight. We'll see if he's in that starting lineup or if he's coming off the bench, but should have probably some type of minutes limit coming off of his calf injury. For the Boston Celtics, they're without Quetta once again, and then Al Horford is joining him today. Not sure if they play a back-to-back or not. Had not looked that far into tomorrow's games, but at least at the minimum, it should solidify the starters minutes for all 5 of the Boston Celtics. If you really want to take a shot at one of their bench players, you can go ahead and do it, but I would not trust it tonight, especially on the 9-game slate. Then we move down to the New Orleans Pelicans, who are without Alvarado, McCollum, and Murphy once again. Najee Marshall is listed as doubtful, and then Herb Jones listed as questionable. Looks like Zion Williamson should be back tonight. And then on the Rockets side, we got Victor Oladipo and Amon Thompson out once again. And then Anthony Sengun is listed as questionable. He's dealing with a back injury. If he's unable to go, we'll either see Jock Landale start at that center position or Jabari Smith slide over to the center position and somebody else start at the power forward position, whether that is Jeff Green, whether it's Tari Eason, whether it's Jayshawn Tate, or someone else. So if he's out, could open up some value on this Rockets team overall. Then we get over to the Minnesota Timberwolves, who are without Clark and McLaughlin once again, so no real changes there. The Spurs are all the way out there at this point in time. They did get Devin Vassell back in their most recent game, although he played very, very limited minutes off the bench in that game, so we'll see whether or not he starts tonight or not. Then we move down to the Utah Jazz, who are just without Walker Kessler once again. We did see a little bit of a shake-up to their starting lineup. We'll see if that is the same starting lineup they roll out once again tonight. And then for the Memphis side, they're without Brandon Clark, John Morant, Derrick Rose, and Xavier Tillman once again. Jake LaRavia is listed as doubtful. He's dealing with a toe injury. And then we have John Conchar listed as questionable, potentially making his return to the bench tonight. And then we have Xavier Williams also listed as questionable. I believe he's dealing with a hip injury. We'll see whether or not he starts tonight or not. Obviously, if he does end up missing, could open up some minutes for some other guys like Luke Kennard, John Conchar, if he ultimately ends up playing, maybe even Santi Aldama off the bench as well. Then we move over to the Clippers, who are without Brandon Boston and Mason Plumlee once again, so no changes there. For the Dallas Mavericks, Maxi Kleber listed as doubtful. Derek Lively is listed as questionable. He missed their most recent game due to illness. If both these guys ultimately end up missing, we're likely to see a lot of Dwight Powell tonight, which doesn't sound too good on a per-minute basis, but is going to be a cheap value option on both sites if that is the case. Then for the Lakers, they're without Hood Schifino, Vanderbilt, and Gabe Vincent once again. Jackson Hayes listed as questionable, dealing with that ankle injury. He's missed their most recent games. And then Anthony Davis is dealing with that hip injury. He's listed as questionable at this point in time. He missed their most recent game, so we'll see if he plays tonight or not. Obviously, if he doesn't, Christian Wood's going to be in play. Rui Hachimura is going to be a little bit more interesting as well. And then on the Phoenix Suns side, Devin Booker out, as well as Damon Lee once again. And then Bradley Beal is probable to play. If you really want to take some shots on him tonight, you could probably do it, but he only played 24 minutes in his first game of the season, their most recent game. Then we move down to the Oklahoma City Thunder, who are without Kenrich Williams once again. And then on the Kings side, they're without De'Aaron Fox and Trey Lyles. So we'll see what that Kings lineup looks like. Ellis did get the start over Davion Mitchell the most recent game, even though they're still projecting Mitchell in on RotoWire tonight. So we'll see what that ultimately ends up looking like. Could be a value play in Ellis tonight, but Mitchell did ultimately end up closing that game for the Kings. But with that being said, that's kind of the quick little rundown on the injuries in play for today. Obviously, the bigger ones that we're going to be watching out for is going to be Anthony Davis. Obviously, that center news in Dallas could open up some value there. Xavier Williams might open up a couple opportunities as well. Obviously, if Herb Jones doesn't play, then somebody else is going to enter that starting lineup. And then Sengun's going to be a major one on tonight's slate as well. But that's pretty much what we're watching at this point in time. If anything does majorly change throughout the day, throughout the night, we'll leave it down in the comments below, as well as those starting lineups as they come out throughout the early evening and night. But with that being said, we'll get moved over to DraftKings and talk about my core picks over there. So we're going to start off at the point guard position with Derek White. He recently returned to the team. He's $5,700. We're looking for 28, 29 points out. He's averaging almost 34 so far in the season. Pretty decent matchup versus the Brooklyn Nets tonight. Should be a pretty back and forth game, I would expect. And his minutes are pretty solidified tonight with no Al Horford in that lineup. And right now, I currently do have Derek White projected right around 30 points. Definitely has some upside for more, as well as he's played pretty well to start the season. Then at shooting guard, we're going to go with Jalen Green of the Houston Rockets. He is $6,300. Looking for 31, 32 points out. He's averaging 31 so far on the season. He's had some really, really good games as of late. Early on the season, the shooting was a little bit more inconsistent, but at this point in time, currently have him projected for about 33 fantasy points tonight. Definitely does have a little bit of room for and upside for more. And then if Sengun's out, maybe even a couple extra assist opportunities do open up for him, as Sengun is a major part of their offense and a guy that gets a lot of assists just in general. And then we move down to Mikal Bridges at $7,700, looking for 38, 39 fantasy points out. He's averaging 37 so far in the season. Maybe a little bit tougher matchup against Boston tonight, but there is no Cam Thomas, although Cam Johnson does come back, but not too worried about that. There should be some extra shots and a little bit of extra usage to go around for a guy like Mikal Bridges, who really did come on well late in last season, so I do expect him to get at least 40 points tonight. Should be a pretty good spot for him overall. Then we move down to power forward with Tari Eason. He's $3,800. We're looking for 19 points out. He came back. He only played limited minutes in his return, but expect that minutes to go up just a little bit today. If you can get 20 minutes out of him, pretty good fantasy point per minute guy. Obviously, in 14 minutes, he kind of killed it last time out, so definitely do like him. We're looking for 19 out of him. Currently, I am projected for about 21 points tonight. And then last but not least, we're going with Rudy Gobert. He's $6,800. You're looking for 34 fantasy points out of him. Pretty good matchup against the Spurs tonight as well. He's been rebounding the ball extremely, extremely well as of late. So currently, I'm projected for about 37, 38 fantasy points tonight. Definitely out-projects that price tag and could get us 40 or more points tonight as well. But with that being said, if you go with these 5 players that I do have listed here, you'll have just under $6,600 per player remaining. So if you want to play a stud, definitely something you could probably do. And then kind of fill in with some other cheaper guys. If you want to make a little bit more balanced build, that's definitely available on today's 9-game slate as well. But with that being said, we'll get moved over to FanDuel and talk about my core picks over there as well. So we're going to start off with the point guard position with LaMelo Ball, $9,100. Looking for 45, 46 points out. He's averaging about 40 so far on the season. Very good spot versus the Wizards tonight, although they did get blown out by the Wizards the last time around, which Kyle Kuzma absolutely went off for that Washington team. So if he's a guy you want to play tonight, definitely could consider it, although his price tag has moved up since that most recent game. But LaMelo Ball, no Terry Rozier out there. He's going to have just a little bit more usage, going to take some more shots, going to get a couple more assists probably as well. So definitely do like him. Currently have him projected for about 47, 48 fantasy points tonight. Definitely has that upside of 50 or more, though, in a very, very good pace-up spot. Then we move down to the shooting guard position. We're going to go with Kevin Huerter tonight. So there's still no De'Aaron Fox. Huerter's been really hit or miss so far this season, but coming on a little bit better as of late. $5,400, looking for 27 points out. I'm currently projected for 28. This is probably one of the picks that could very much change as the day moves along, especially if some value does open up. So not really tied to him for sure, but definitely do like the upside that he could have. Maybe he's got a 30-point game in him, helps us out, but at the end of the day, probably not going to be anybody that kills our team overall. Then we're going to move down to small forward with Tari Eason. He's $4,100. Talked about him on DraftKings. Played his first game of the season last time out. He had almost 24 points in that game in like 14 minutes. Not expecting quite that ridiculous of a pace tonight, but if Sengun's out, if he can get 20 minutes or more tonight coming off that injury, I don't know what his minutes limit is going to be, but $4,100, we're only looking for 20, 21 points out. I'm projected for 21 points tonight. Then at power forward, we're going to go down his teammate and Jabari Smith Jr. at $6,300. Looking for 31, 32 fantasy points out. He's averaging just under 27 so far on the season. Pretty decent spot versus the New Orleans Pelicans tonight, as long as he doesn't get into foul trouble against Zion or something like that. But if he slides over to that center position, could be some extra rebounds to go around, could be some extra opportunities to shoot the ball without Sengun out there as well. And then obviously, if he's starting next to a guy like Jock Landale, that's probably not going to take a lot of shots, not going to have a lot of usage anyways, could see a little bit of a bump up there as well if he moves over to center. And like a guy like Tari Eason starts, maybe not quite that usage bump that you would see, but still have him projected for 32 fantasy points tonight. And then last but not least, we're going to go down to Joseph Nurkic at $7,300. I like him quite a bit, especially if Anthony Davis does not play. If Anthony Davis plays, not quite as good of an option, but still very much worth this price tag at $7,300. You're looking for 36, 37 fantasy points from him today. Essentially what I got him projected at 37, 38. If there's no Anthony Davis, would not be surprised if he goes for over 40 tonight. But with that being said, if you go with these 5 players that I do have listed here on the FanDuel side, you have $27,800 remaining, just under $7,000 per player. So you still have a room and opportunity. If you want to pay up at a certain position, you can definitely do that, and then pay down at some other spots. Or if you want to take a little bit more balanced approach, that's definitely fine on tonight's 9-game slate as well. But with that being said, these are my core picks for both FanDuel and DraftKings for today, November 10th. As always, if you have any questions related to NBA DFS, be sure to drop them down in the comments, and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. Also, be sure to note whether those questions are FanDuel or DraftKings specific, just so I can help you as quickly and efficiently as possible. And then, as always, I'll be listing any injury updates as well as the starting lineups down in the comments as we get closer to lock. And then, if there are any changes whatsoever to the core, I'll leave an updated core about 15 to 20 minutes prior to lock down in the comments as a pinned comment. And then if there's any other changes that do take place after that point in time, I will leave that there as well. But with that being said, if you are brand new to my channel, checking out for the very first time, or have yet to subscribe, please consider doing so. Definitely would appreciate it. Helps to build the community that we're trying to build here at Coach Craig Sports, which is one that's truly for you, the viewers, helping you with your DFS. Right now, we have NBA DFS Monday through Friday in terms of the core picks. Got an NFL DFS video coming out once a week. That one should be up at some point tomorrow, as well as the NFL DFS cheat sheets over on the Sports Affiliation website as well. And then last but not least, if you are interested in sports betting, if you're interested in prop betting, be sure to check out the links and the promo codes down in the description below for Prize Picks, Parlay Play, and BetUS. If you are a new user on any of those 3 sites, you do get a pretty good first match deposit. Obviously, depends on how much you put in. Helps you guys out a little bit as you start your prop betting journey. Helps me out a little bit on the side as well. And then if you have any questions whatsoever regarding those websites, sports betting, prop betting in general, feel free to reach out, whether it's down in the comments or on Twitter at Coach Craig Sport, and be more than happy to help you with that journey as well. But with that being said, that's all that I truly have at this point in time. Definitely do appreciate each and every one of you tuning in. Definitely means a lot to me. I hope that each and every one of you have a great rest of your day and some pretty good luck in NBA DFS tonight.